Can I work in the United States on a 1099 basis when I am a foreign educated veterinarian? And my dog is barking in the background. How appropriate. So the answer to that question, as always, depends. It depends on what your current status is. Welcome to Live at Lunch with me, Emily Sumner of Sumner Immigration Law, where we go live every Tuesday at noon to discuss different immigration topics. Today, again, we're talking about the question of whether a foreign educated veterinarian is able to work on a 1099 basis in the United States. Welcome to everyone who's joining us live. If you have questions, please put those in the comments. And if you're joining us on the replay, welcome as well. And still feel free to put questions in the comments. So veterinarians can be an entrepreneurial bunch, people who want to start their own vet practice. And in addition, foreign nationals, immigrants to the United States, also can be very entrepreneurial. They want to start their own businesses in the United States. So you put those two together and you have individuals who are very interested in potentially working on their own or for themselves, which is amazing. I do that as well, and I'm all for that. However, there are some logistics to consider. So if you are a vet hospital, perhaps, who has this question of a potential vet who may be working at your practice or providing services to your practice, or if you are an individual vet, here are some things to consider. As always, this is not legal advice. This is for educational purposes only, and I can't give legal advice on a forum like this, but feel free to contact us if you need additional guidance. So in terms of the immigration aspect, first of all, there are other aspects that you have to consider as well. We're only talking about the immigration aspect today. The other aspects, at least some of them that you need to consider, are employment laws. There are employment laws in place that dictate whether a particular worker should be classified as an employee or an independent contractor. And it's important that employers be aware of that and advise or adhere rather to those guidelines. That's outside the scope of my expertise, or my knowledge base rather, in immigration law. There's the other dog, I apologize. But be aware that that's something that you need to consider and keep in mind. If it is determined that it is possible for a vet to work on a 1099 basis, then the question is, are they able to in terms of immigration law? And again, that depends on status. In general, if a vet has a green card already, in general, then yes, they could potentially work on 1099 status rather than as an employee of the animal hospital. That I say generally because there are considerations even there to take into to keep in mind. For example, if the vet received their green card through an employment-based immigration process or green card process, it's generally a good idea for a vet to stay with that particular company or hospital rather for a period of time after they receive their green card. There is no written rule, and it really depends on a variety of factors. But that's just something to keep in mind. In general, you don't want to receive your green card and then immediately quit and work for a different practice. Again, there are exceptions to that, but in general, that's something to keep in mind. Otherwise, if a foreign educated vet is in the United States on a non-immigrant visa classification, when I say non-immigrant visa classification, I mean a temporary visa classification such as the H-1B, H-1B1, E3, TN. We've had vets on H3, basically O1, basically all the letter visas that are available for vets. In general, you have to have an employer, a U.S. employer, to work in the United States on these temporary or non-immigrant visa classifications. So in general, it's not possible to work on a 1099. If you were let's say that you already had your green card, or a person as a US citizen and they weren't to work as a vet. And really, by the way, all of this information that I'm providing is applicable to other industries or other professions as well. I happen to be talking about vets because that's a question that we get a lot in our practice, but it's applicable to other professions as well. So in general, if you're in the US, like I said, on one of these temporary visa classifications, in general, you have to have a US employer. Like I was saying, if you have a green card or if you are a US citizen and you want to provide services as an independent contractor to a company, again, making sure that you're adhering to relevant employment laws in general, that may be possible. So a person, in other words, doesn't have to be tied to a company if they're not immigration considerations. But that's not true if you're here on one of these classifications like the H, the L the O, the TN, the E3, H1B1, things like that. In general, you have to have a US employer. There is an exception, for example, for the H1B, for the H1B classification. It is possible, if you're able to establish that there is, if you own the practice, if you own the vet hospital, it is possible to show, if you can show that there is an employee-employer relationship, then it may be possible for you to, quote, self-sponsor for an H1B. What I mean by the employee-employer relationship is you have to show that it is possible for you to be terminated from the position. So you have to show that there's some entity or some group that has the ability to fire you, hire you, discipline you, things like that. When I have filed an H1B petition for entrepreneurs before, it's been a situation where there's a board of directors. The company has a board of directors, and that board of directors has the ability to fire, discipline, give pay raises, pay cuts to the individual who is being sponsored in H1B status. There are very specific rules about this, so just know that it is possible, but it's not necessarily easy, and not every specific situation is going to be applicable and work out for that person to self-sponsor for the H1B. So I hope that you have found this information helpful. Please take a minute to share this video with a friend or colleague if you found this information helpful, and I hope that you will join us next Tuesday at noon for our next live at lunch. Again, my name is Emily Sumner with Sumner Immigration Law. We're based in Richmond, Virginia, but we serve clients all over the United States and throughout the world with employment-based and family-based immigration matters. Until next time.